Shalom, family. Today, we're going to talk about parables. I love talking about parables. And in this particular parable, at the end, Yeshua says something that is amazing. He says, "Let those who have an ear to hear what thus saith the Lord," what thus saith Yahuwah. Now, let's think about that for a moment. Pretty much everybody I know have ears, and they can hear. But he's taking you deeper into the depth of the moment of being able to hear. Because even though you have ears, that doesn't mean that you are hearing all the time. You could be listening, but not hearing. As we think about it, those who pretty much probably wouldn't have ears, or maybe those who have been in war, or those who were born without ears, or you have people who are deaf, who are born with ears, but they just can't hear. That's not the ones who he's talking about at this moment. He's talking about those who have ears, who are able to hear and understand. There are a select few people that can actually do that. We even do that today in our churches. There are people who go to church, sit on the pew, listen to the word, sit through the whole service, and if you ask them at the end of service, "How was the word?" And they say, "Well, the word was good." And you say, "Well, what did the preacher talk about?" And they say, "Oh, well, he mentioned this and he mentioned that." Well, it sounded good. Well, do you understand what he was talking about? Not really, but it seemed important. Meaning that person was sitting on the pew listening to the word, but just didn't hear it because they didn't get a full understanding. Sometimes we hear the word and the understanding don't come. It can come when somebody else preaches the word, or it can hit you later when life situations happen, and then the word comes back to your remembrance of what happened. In this particular parable, Yeshua is going to teach us that there are good and evil people in the world. The word is coming from Matthew 13:24 through 30. We're going to read it first, and then we're going to go back over it again and discuss what Yeshua was talking about. Yeshua was sitting in the house, and he came outside. And the moment when he came outside, all of a sudden a multitude of people showed up. So Yeshua decided to get inside of a ship and sit in the ship so that he can talk to the multitude. And he gave them a parable, which comes from, one of the parables came from out of Matthew 13:24 through 30. Another parable put he forth unto them. The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man, which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servant of the household came and said unto him, "Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then has it tares?" He said unto them, "An enemy has done this." The servant said unto him, "Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up?" But he said, "Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn." Once Yeshua was done talking to the multitude left. Yeshua got down off the ship and he went back into the house. Once he returned into the house, the disciples kind of came behind him and wanted to know the understanding of the wheat and the tare parable. So he began to expound on what he was saying to the multitude, to the disciples. But after he got finished talking to the disciples, they understood, but they didn't fully understand. Because their full understanding of once the Messiah, once Hamashiach came back, that things were going to change. He was going to establish his kingdom. He was going to get rid of all the bad, and we were going to live happily ever after. But that's not what he was explaining to them. What they didn't understand is, just like Yahuwah, just like Elohim, Yeshua does everything in decency and in order. There had to be an order for the thing. You can't come back and take the kingdom without getting rid of the sin. In order to get rid of the sin, he had to pay the ultimate price. He had to pay the price of the sin debt. So meaning he had to fulfill that which was already written. Everything that's written is going to come to pass. Now, let's reread and interpret what Yeshua was saying to them at that particular time. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Now, back in the days, tares were like barnel. Barnel is a type of plant that is a poisonous plant. And in the beginning stages of it, it looks just like wheat in the beginning stages. So at first glance, you're not able to recognize it that, wait a minute, something is actually disturbing the wheat. Something is going to destroy the wheat in the midst of the growing. So you're not able to catch it so that you can take it out early. That's in the beginning stages of it. As it grows more and more, you're able to finally start noticing it. But by this time, it's in the middle stage and it has matured more and it has intertwined with the wheat. So meaning it's harder to take it out without damaging the wheat itself. So you can't remove it. Yeshua said that when it's likened of a good sower was the Son of Man, which was Yeshua himself. He was the one who sowed the good seed. He sowed the good people in the world. And then his enemy came and sowed tares, which brought forth evil within the world. Now just think about it. Like I said, in the beginning stages of it, you can't tell that it's evil at first. Think about a child. When you look at a child, all you see is the innocence of a child. That's the beginning stages of a child. You know that a child is going to do right and wrong at certain times, but it has nothing to do with, in mature state, what that child is going to turn out to be. So, same thing with the wheat and the tare. In the beginning stages, you look at it, and they look just alike. You can't tell that there's a difference between the two. By the time this child reaches a little matureness in age, it's not fully grown, but it's in the middle stage, now you're starting to see more of the evil show up within that child. Nobody wants to call a child evil, but it is what it is. If it's an apple tree, you call it an apple tree. You don't call it an orange tree if it's an apple tree. So here it is. You're able to recognize it. Do you remove it from the good child that's around? No, because now if you remove it too soon, it's going to create damage within that good child. So to keep from creating damage, that child has to come into maturity. Once it comes into maturity, then that other seed can be removed without any damage being done. It can be destroyed without the child being corrupted or being destroyed in itself. This is what he was telling them about the wheat and the tare. The field that he was talking about represents the world. He planted inside of the world the good seed. The enemy represents the devil. The devil, the tares that he planted was his children. A long time ago, I told you that there are children of God, just as there are children of the devil. And they are all in this world right along with us. Can you tell all of them at first glance? No, because they act polite, do nice things, say nice things, act a certain kind of way that you would think that a good godly person would act. You can't tell them until you hang around them long enough that, wait a minute, you ain't fully a good person. You got some real evil and corrupt ways on the inside of you. More and more they start to reveal that evil side of them that you couldn't see in the beginning. Are they removed from their personal life? No, they're not removed. They're able to stay in the midst because removing them too early creates damage. But at the time of full maturity, if that person does not convert, does not come to where they become a hearer of the word, then they're going to be destroyed just like the tares were. Now, when he talked about the whole thing of when good hit the area and when the evil seed hit the area, it made me think about the first two young men that were in the earth, which was Cain and Abel. They were a prime example of good and evil. Abel did good things. He wanted to do what was pleasing to the Father. Whereas Cain, he just basically wanted to live on earth. Basically wanted to get his riches the best way he could and wanted to give mediocre stuff to Elohim. It didn't matter to him to give above and beyond because of everything that Elohim had did for him. Even when his countenance had changed and Elohim had a conversation with him and told him, if you give good gifts, yours will be accepted too. But if you continue in this thought pattern, then sin is knocking at your door. He didn't take heed to the warning. He continued to walk away in deep thought of how he wasn't accepted, but his brother was. Don't allow the seeds that are dropped throughout this world to taint your mind. Get an understanding of what's going on around you and apply that situation to your life. He said at the time of harvest, that means once full maturity has come into, meaning at the end of the world, that's the full harvest time he's talking about. He's going to send out the reapers. The reapers are the angels, and he sends them to do a job. He sends them to gather up and put them in bundles. Once he puts them in bundles, they're going to be placed in the fiery furnace. They're going to be burned up. Same thing that he said was going to happen to the tares. The same thing that's going to happen to the evil children during the end days. You don't understand that that's what's going to happen, but that's what's going to come about. Now, he said, gather out of the kingdom all of the things that offend and do iniquity. The angels will cast them into the fiery furnace. They shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth, meaning continuous torment. Think about it. When you think about somebody being thrown into a furnace of fire, first thing you think is that they're going to be consumed, that they're going to be burned up. But you don't understand. This fire ain't like your normal fire. This is a fire that Yahuwah himself created. And he's not going to let you off that easily. Why? You spent your time tormenting his children for a long time, trying to be selfish and caught in your own ways, thinking that you're supposed to put all your treasures into this world, living your best life in this world, and not setting your eyes on the kingdom that is above. That's what Yeshua came to establish. He came to establish the kingdom and set aside his chosen children. Now, just because there is evil among the children, there is an appointed time for that evil to be taken away. And that evil is not going to die off easily. When they are stuck into the lake of fire, it's going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Meaning you're not going to have the flesh burn off. You're not going to be broken all the way down to bone. No, you're going to stay where everything is going to stay on your body so you can constantly feel that torment. I'm sorry, I don't want to feel that constant torment. I've been burnt before just by this earthly burning. And that don't feel good at all. But to know that I'm going to go through an eternal burning, that I will never perish away, that I have to constantly feel that pain. Pain in this life don't even feel good. Whether we go through the pains of hurting a foot, or hurting the arm, or hurting our neck, or our back, or anything, other parts of our body that we hurt, we know how that feels. It don't feel good at all. We can't handle that type of pain. So how do you feel like you're going to be able to handle the pain of a constant burning? I don't even want to take my chances like that. I don't want to put my life on the line for that type of thing. So to know that you have the opportunity to plant seeds, you can plant the seeds of the word while you are here. Now, one part about planting the seeds of the word, the Bible says that one man planted, another man watering. And it is Yahuwah that gets the increase. He gets the increase because he's the only one that can bring about the increase. Because you can't change a person. No matter how much you sit and talk to a person, sometimes you can give them so much that they close off their point of receiving. Because they don't want to receive all that from you. Sometimes they can receive from another person better than they can even receive from you. That's the reason why you need others to do parts of the job. You are only to plant the seed. let another man water it. And the next man down the road, water it a little bit more. Until that seed finally takes root and does what it's supposed to do. Yeshua explained right before the parable of the wheat and the tares about how seeds can fall on different types of grounds. He talked about how the seed fell on stony ground, how it fell on thorns, and how it also fell on good ground. Now the seed that fell on stony ground, they weren't able to hear the word at all. So they weren't able to apply the word. The seed that fell on thorns was able to hear the word, receive it, get a little rejoice behind the word. But then once they got involved in the things of the world and trying to stay with the riches of the world, it got choked out. The way their belief faltered, it diminished. But the seed that fell on good ground, not only did they hear the word, but they were able to understand the word and they applied the word to their life. Don't allow the enemy to steal the word away from you. Don't allow him to take away your seed. Be a hearer of the word and a doer of the word. Make sure that you apply this word to your life and pass it on to the next person. Study to show thyself approved so that you don't have to be ashamed. You will be able to rightfully divide the word of truth. See, when Yeshua left, he left us a comforter. He didn't leave us comfortless, so that you would be able to understand the word, so that you will be able to teach others the word who don't understand it at first. Open up their eyes and their ears to their understanding. Teach, pass the word on, not just to your children, but to your fellow co-workers as well, to your family members that might not be in the midst of your household. Elohim said that my word shall not return unto me void, but it's going to accomplish exactly what it was sent out to accomplish. If this word touched you, make sure you comment. Talk about how it touched you. Talk about whether you've actually been in a service and have been one of those ones who were listening to the word, but just didn't hear it. Just didn't understand it right off the bat. Maybe you had to walk away just to get understanding. Maybe in the midst of a conversation with somebody else, the understanding of a word that you heard a week or two before finally came to you. And once again, family, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Shalom.